Hi everyone. If you're new here, my name is Ryan, and today I'd like to solve this FE exam fluid mechanics problem with you. I make these videos to act as a comprehensive guide where if you're able to solve a problem like this, you should be good on all the other problems that you could get on the FE exam. You can try this problem for yourself using the first link in the description below. It'll take you to a screen just like this where you have the ability to filter questions and see kind of all the different questions that we've done in our FE exam playlist, as well as flag questions using this button on the upper left. You can input an answer for that question and it'll interactively give you feedback as well as a explanation and link to a video solution like this. So you can go ahead and try out those problems, especially this problem. Let's get into the solution. Okay, so it says for the constant diameter 12 centimeter water system shown above, the required horizontal anchoring force is most nearly. Okay, let's transfer this to a clean sheet of paper and let's write down some of the things that were given here. So the diameter of the system is 12 centimeters. That's this. And it also says a water system. The density of water in the metric system is 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter. We're looking for the horizontal anchoring force. If we go ahead and think a little bit about what's going on in this problem, we have fluid flowing up and exiting. You can picture that the pipe is going to be wanting to fly towards the left. That must mean that there is some kind of anchoring force, right? There will be a vertical anchoring force, let's call that Fy, and a horizontal anchoring force Fx. Anytime I go ahead and draw forces, I draw a free body diagram, I always have a set of unit vectors that govern my positive direction. And that's one of the key things with problems like these. You want to keep your signs straight. So that's a good thing to do. So we have those anchoring forces, and what we're really looking for is just this horizontal anchoring force. Now, if you ever see a fluids problem where you have some pressures, some speeds, and you're looking for forces, you're going to be using the control volume method, the conservation of momentum. So if we go ahead inside of the handbook, they have it labeled as the impulse momentum principle. What we see is that on page 187 of the reference manual, they say that the sum of the forces is equal to the difference between, these terms are referred to as the momentum flux. You can see that the momentum flux with the twos, the product of the volumetric flow rate, the density and speed, if they're leaving the control volume, it's a positive sign, versus if they're entering the control volume, it's a negative sign. This is great because it relates speeds and forces. Let's go back to our problem and let's go ahead and paste this. Okay, so this is our equation here. Now, the next thing that we need to think about is drawing the free body diagram for the system. That's how you always start these kind of problems. So we started off with those anchoring forces. Additionally, there's forces due to these pressure terms. I also see there's a slope triangle here on the bottom left. I always like to work in terms of thetas. So what I could read off from that slope triangle is that adjacent over hypotenuse, cosine of theta, is equal to 5/13, and the sine of theta is equal to 12/13. That's a Pythagorean triple on the bottom, 5, 12, 13. Yeah, I try to use these slope triangles when they're given and not recompute anything, and it helps me save time, and it'll help you do the same. Whenever you draw a control volume around a system, which is this kind of dashed line that I'm drawing here, what it does is it frees the body from its surroundings, and as soon as you cut the body, you're introducing some pressure forces, which is what I'm drawing here, a pressure distribution due to the adjacent water molecules pressing onto this. As soon as you cut the body, these are kind of like internal forces in mechanics of material. You have a pressure force, its height is P1, with an acting over an area A1. And same thing on the top, right? Everywhere you cut the body and there's fluid entering or exiting, you have a pressure distribution. This is P2A2. Remember that if you have a force, that's just equal to a pressure times an area, which is what we're doing here. We'd also additionally have a weight term due to the weight of that water in the system. Okay, this looks like everything that we need to draw on our free body diagram. Now, all we need to do is plug into the equation and pay attention to some of these sines and cosines. Make sure we get all our signs correct, which is, I think, the hardest part about these problems. Okay, so firstly, let's start with this sum of the forces term. We have a horizontal anchoring force, Fx. Now, we're not going to look at the entire sum of the forces. We're just going to look at the x sum of the forces because we're only interested in this horizontal anchoring force. So just doing the x component of this equation, we have the Fx. We also have this term P1A1. So the entire force is P1A1, but we're not going to see the entire force. If you look at this slope triangle here on the bottom of the screen, we just see the cosine component of it, and it's pointing in the negative I direction, the negative x direction. So what I would write down there is P1A1 cosine of theta, and it's pointing towards the left. So I'm going to put a negative sign there. What about this term here, the P2A2? That's also just pointing towards the left, and there is no slope there. So it's just P2A2 minus. What that's equal to is the change in my momentum flux. Now let's think a little bit about these momentum flux terms. Let's start with the out term. We know the out term has positive sign. At this second point here, we see the speed is pointing towards the right. We have a flow rate. That's Q2, a density, and the speed is pointing towards the right. It's the full speed. That's V2. So this is the correct momentum flux term here. And then we have a minus sign. That minus is due to this minus sign right here. And let's go ahead and write out the inward momentum flux. So that's this term over here. Now again, we're going to have a cosine somewhere, but let's write out that Q1 rho, and then the speed. What's the component of speed pointing in the x direction? That is V1 cosine of theta, and it's also pointing towards the left. It's a negative sign, so that means that we'd have a positive sign here. We had a negative from this, and we additionally had a negative on this term, so this became a positive. Okay, so now that we have all our terms taken care of, we have a bunch of ones and twos running around the place. Let's see if we can simplify the problem a little bit, thinking about continuity and thinking about the areas in the problem. Firstly, I know this A1 and A2 terms, as well as these Q terms, the flow rate. Remember that the flow rate is equal to the product of area times speed. All of these terms have an A. So that's something that can be simplified. I would write an A multiplied by P1, and I know the cosine of theta is 5/13. That's from our slope triangle that we looked at earlier. And then plus P2, the A is just, I already factored that out, plus, now Q2. Q2 and Q1 are exactly the same. That's from conservation of mass. We know they're equal to A2 V2, which is equal to A1 V1. Now A2 and A1 are exactly the same. That means V2 and V1 are the same. We didn't use mass flow rate here because we're dealing with the liquid system, and in a liquid system, the density is going to be constant. Instead of looking at rho AV, we just looked at the volumetric flow rate, which is AV. Okay, so let's continue on. If we substitute in here a speed and an area, what we end up getting is That area term we already factored out. We have a rho v squared term for the first term, and then added to the cosine component of a rho v squared term. So we have a rho v squared term, but it's not the full thing, it's the 5/13 component of it, the cosine theta component. If we combine some of these terms here, fx is equal to my area multiplied by, we can start substituting some of these terms in. Actually, let's combine this term here. We know that 1 rho v squared plus 5/13 rho v squared is 18/13 rho v squared. We also add on 5/13 of P1 and a P2. So this is our full equation here. All we have to do is plug in now. We know that P1 is equal to 200 kPa. P2, that's this term right here, that's equal to 150 kPa plus 18/13. And then we have density, 1,000. Speed, the speed was 10 meters per second squared. I'm going to speed through the rest of this, work through the units, and you can tell me if you got the same answer. You can leave a comment down below. Also, if you haven't yet, please leave a like down below and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. It's super encouraging and lets me know that you're enjoying the content like this. Let's run through the rest of these units. All right, so what we get here is 4.13 kilonewtons. Let's go ahead and see if we're correct. That's pretty close to this answer on the top. And we are correct here. We can click on the view explanation button. Now, just to quickly go through what we just did, we realized that we're given pressures and speeds. The impulse momentum principle was applicable. It related those to forces. We drew our control volume and introduced those pressure forces as well as the anchoring forces and the weight. And we wrote the sum of the forces in the x direction. That brought into the problem the anchoring force, Fx, as well as some of these pressure terms. You can see for that P1 term as well as for the momentum flux in, we had a cosine component that entered in. There was also a tricky sign switch over here. Most of these problems are keeping those signs straight, so just be consistent and take your time, and you'll be able to get the correct answer every time. So we went ahead and simplified that, plugged in some of our knowns. We can see in the denominator here, there was a 10 to the third term on this rho v squared term. That's to bring everything to kilonewtons. And we got our final answer that was 4.13 kilonewtons. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.